Hi, how's everybody doing? So, I've been asking myself a question this week, and the question that I've been asking myself is, what kind of leader do you want to be? So, I would like to ask you the same question. And the reason that I've been asking myself that question is because I've been thinking about the topic of control. And with everything that's going on, there's the coronavirus, there's the measures from the government, which not everybody's happy with. And I'm not wanting to get into that. I'm just saying that it brings up the topic of control. And so I've been thinking about, well, what do I have control over? Ultimately, the only thing I have control over is myself. I don't have control over the coronavirus. I can't stop that from happening. I don't have control over other people's reactions to things, how they behave. I don't have control over the government and what they decide to do or not do. So it brings up the topic of control, and it also brings up the topic of leadership, because essentially, to me, if you look at it logically, that there are two decisions that you can make right now. One is to allow yourself to get consumed by fear and to get paralyzed by fear, or to remain in a state of powerlessness and to bitch and moan about everything that's going on, and oh, how bad it is, and oh, look what they're doing now, and blah blah blah. Or the second option is to stand up and lead, to take action, to actually do something, So for me, the obvious answer is option two, is that I decide to take action. And I'll talk a bit about what that means to me later. But yeah, firstly, I also want to use an analogy about fear, because when people get consumed by fear or allow themselves to get consumed by fear, it's a bit like the analogy that comes up for me, the image that comes up for me is if someone's drowning, and so one of the things that they tell you in life saving is if someone's drowning, the last thing that you do is jump in the water with them. Why? Because if you jump in the water with someone who's drowning, then they're going to panic, they're going to drag you under, and they're going to drown you as well as them. So what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to stay on the safe side of the shore and to do everything that you can from where you are to try and help them, because if you jump in the water, then you're of no use to them. You're not going to be able to help them. So that's the absolute last thing that you do, and so when I say don't feed into the fear, don't be bitching and moaning, it's the only option that you have right now if you want to affect change, if you want to help people, because that is where people are at. People are panicking, they are feeding into fear, so the only way that you're going to help people to bring them out of that, to empower them, is if you actually come from a place of leadership and safety instead of a place of fear, So to be empowered, the topic of empowerment is the topic of leadership. So that's the question that I would ask you is, what does that look like to you? You know, what does it look like to you to be a leader, to be empowered, to not feed into fear, to be a place of safety? What does it mean to be a place of safety that people can come to, people that are panicking, people that feel like they're losing control, you know? What does that look like to you? So for some people, it might look like that they want to go out and organise a protest. You know, I'm not saying that's not what I would do. I don't feel that's the right thing to do. But for some people, yeah, that might be what they feel empowered and inspired to go and do, you know? And the reason, and I don't agree with that, but the reason I say do what's right for you is because it's not about getting it right, you know? I would rather that you went out and took action from a place of what you feel that you resonate with, what you feel is right, rather than to stay in a state of powerlessness and a state of fear, because I don't want anyone to be sitting in that state. You know, I want people to be empowered and to take action. So if that's what taking action looks like to you, then go and do it. And I support you in that, because I support that you're doing what you feel is right to help, you know? So yeah, it might be in the form of organising protests. It might be being more compassionate to people, you know? That might be the kind of leader that you want to be. You might want to be someone that reaches out to people, that helps people at this time, to bring people together, you know? What else? It might be being more authentic, you know, starting a blog, doing videos, you know, to try and share your truth, to wake people up to the truth, or you know, to start doing some digging to uncover the truth. So that might be what leadership means to you. For me, it means being the change that I wish to see in the world, you know? So the reason that I say that is because I feel that that's the most powerful way for me, is to act as the change that I wish to see in the world, you know? So in terms of people that are wanting to protest, you know, if you look at what is their reasoning behind doing that, ultimately, their reasoning is that they want to create a more peaceful and loving world. They want to affect change. So I always go from the basis of I don't have a lot of control over what happens outside of me, but I can control myself. So that's just what I believe. I believe that change starts from within. It starts with us, you know? So that's the kind of leader that I want to be, and that's what I'm going to be doing. What I have been trying to do is to anchor more peace and love in my life. So I've been looking at how can I do that in my own life? How can I create that? How can I be that inspiration for other people to be the change that I wish to see in the world? You know, because ultimately if everybody just changes themselves, you know, that's enough. You know, we need love right now. We need compassion right now. We need peace, and for me, go and do whatever you want. I'm not telling anyone what's right or wrong. I'm just sharing my perspective, but it doesn't make sense to me from my experience. I've learned this through a lot of difficult and challenging lessons in the last few years. What I've learned is that it doesn't make sense to fight against something. If you're fighting against something that you don't agree with, you're fighting a losing battle if you go in with the vibration of anger, of injustice. If you're going in with those lower vibrational states and you're trying to affect change, if you're trying to be righteous, self-righteous, but you're actually taking on the same vibration of that which you're opposing, then it doesn't work. The only thing that you can control, the only thing that you can do is to anchor the opposite. So what's going on in the world? Is there anger? Well, what's the opposite of that? I want to be, if there's anger, then I want to be in a state of peace. If there's hatred, I want to anchor love. I want to anchor more love in my life. So that's just how I perceive it, and as I said, that's came from a lot of meaningful lessons that have happened in my life, recently. So I hope that was helpful to anyone, and I would just encourage you to consider that question. What kind of leader do you want to be, and I'm not saying that my way is better than any other person's way. Whatever your take on that is, then good for you. Go out and take action. Ultimately the main take home that I want people to take from this is, don't be paralyzed, just because you think, oh, I don't know if I'm doing it right, or wrong, or whatever. Just take action. It doesn't matter what that action is. Just whatever you feel is right in your heart, go and do that. And I'm interested to know what everybody's take on this is as well. So let me know. Lots of love. Bye.